Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Teaching Tuesday. I'm going to talk a little bit here. First of all, how's everybody doing? And oh my gosh, if you see that wobble, my camera has to be fixed somehow so it doesn't wobble. It's all back to Sunday when I lost my mic and I was unplugging and replugging things into different USBs, and this one was the one that was sacrificed to try a different USB, and I haven't put it back, and the cord stretched too far. And if I hit it at all, it wobbles. I'm going to talk about fiber processing today. Fiber processing has been the roadblock for me to getting a lot of spinning done. And there are two ways that you can avoid that. You can just buy already processed fiber, and there's nothing wrong with that. As I have been doing this for years and years and years, I'm more and more tempted to do that because fiber processing is a very long, tedious, and kind of unrewarding process because you don't get yarn yet and you throw a lot away, and both of those just kind of feel like, why am I doing this? But if I hadn't done the fiber processing over the last 12-15 years that I have been seriously spinning since moving here where I live, if I wasn't doing that, I would not have had any topics for podcasts. Podcasts, and I'm talking audio podcasts because I started this 13 years ago. Podcasts are very verbal and they're very descriptive, and so you can't show things, right? You have to find ways to say the description with words. And there is nothing wrong with podcasts that talk about, I bought this fiber, I paid this much, it looks this way, it feels like this, it's spun like this, the yarn maybe bled a little or it didn't, and this was the person who did it. There's nothing wrong with that kind of podcast. There are plenty of people doing it, and that is why, one of the reasons why I ended up focusing on something else. And it all started out at the very beginning of the podcast with, I bought this fleece, right? Because I went to a fiber fair and there was this gorgeous brown gray border Leicester staring at me, and it was only $12 and there's 5 pounds, right? It's a huge bargain. And the rest is history, as they say, because once I started working with fleece, I found out I had to do things in order to be able to spin it. I couldn't just, first of all, wash it, although I did have to learn how to wash it. Second of all, after I washed it, it was clumped up. I had to pick it apart. After that, should I just spin it that way? Well, yeah, but I didn't get a real pretty yarn. What do? Oh, you card it or you comb it. And I started acquiring the tools. Now, this is years and years ago. In fact, the other day I was thinking, man, it's been forever since I bought something really special for spinning, some kind of fiber tool. After a while, you pretty much get everything you need. So I had to do the processing because I bought the fleece. But that is what started all the podcasts. And I am going to put this little command up here so that you can have the link. And that's where you can find my podcast. But that's not what I was really here to talk about, except for the fact that if it hadn't been for the podcast, I wouldn't know what I know about fiber processing. I wouldn't have the tools that I have for fiber processing. And I have been doing it for 12, 13, 14 years, and I still don't really like doing it. After a while, I burn out. So over all of these years, I have done bits and pieces so that I could podcast about it and talk about either the fiber or the processing or the spinning of all these different breeds. And now all of a sudden I'm pretty much done with doing the breed stuff. And I am playing let's clean out all of this and get on with my spinning life. Why all of this intro? Well, because one of the things I'm going to talk about today is something that I've been struggling with, a fleece, a fiber I have been struggling with to figure out how to process it and spin it. And I'll tell you all about that in a minute. But the last step really is to see if a blending hackle would work. Okay, and that's why the little alert that you might have gotten saying I'm on and I'm using a blending hackle is there, because yes, I am going to do the blending hackle. But in the process of all that, I am going to be talking about this particular fleece and why I've had so much trouble. So, before we get started, take a look at this picture. It's spring here. It is spring here. One of my favorite flowers. I have a lot of favorite flowers. I love violets. And I have field full of them. Not right now. This is pictures from other year. But this is what I'm looking forward to in a couple weeks' time. Oh, that was the wrong one. I apologize. Okay. Blending hackle. What is a blending hackle? Well, a blending hackle is a clampable comb, but without another comb associated with it. So it's just like one comb, right? It's just one thing right there. And you have to supply something to use with this blending hackle. And you can buy different things that are single, but the one handheld comb from your set of handheld combs will also work. So when you buy a blending hackle, be aware that it's one thing and you're going to need something to actually do the combing with. Why this way? Because as the word says, it's to blend multiple fibers together by pulling the top off, right, from this in a blend. That's why it's called a blending hackle. I'm going to turn myself around here, get settled in. I am not set up the best here. Because working on these small tables like this, I can't use my computer desk. It is just like solid full of components. And using this small table, as opposed to the very sturdy workshop workmate. Okay, it's a great big sturdy thing that you clamp to, or you put your saw on, or whatever. I pretty much have prerequisitioned hubby's workmate, and it sits in my fiber corner. And by the way, one of the things I've been working on this year is getting that area cleared of all the boxes and bags of things that needed either drum carded or combed. And both occur on that workmate, and I am almost done. It is almost done. I'm really happy because I have been getting things done. It's just a very slow, tedious process. So unfortunately, this is wobbly and I have to be a little bit careful. It's not quite as bad as working with a double comb where you have one clamped and one that you go this way, because obviously that second comb is aiming right for your legs there, and we don't want that. This is a little better because this is a smaller comb and I can angle it this way, right? So it's a little bit better to work on this, but it's not the best, sturdiest situation. And also, I am working with pretty big clamps because that's what we can find. And if I was doing this right, I would buy specific clamps for this that were not so much in the way. As you can see, I've angled this one out of the way some, and the this is very, 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 very sturdy. It's clamped on well. So that's okay. I just have to watch I don't pull the table towards me as I'm working with it. Before I get into working with this, though, I want to tell you what was the last ditch, why this is the last ditch fiber processing for a particular fiber. And the fiber is tunas. Quite a while ago, I bought tunas. It was, I bought it online, so I didn't have it by sight. I washed it and I drum carded it, and it was my thought to blend it with a real pretty fawn color alpaca. I thought, oh, tuna, that will be really pretty, white fawn color, and the tunis is very soft, the alpaca is very soft, and I thought it would be a good blend. So I did that, and this is on my drum carder, and this is the kind of bats I was getting. Okay, and that's unacceptable. See here? Actually, I think that's just an extra from the bag, but the way this spins is just extremely lumpy bumpy. It's so soft and springy that it's going to be a hard fiber to spin anyway. And I put that aside. I said, I'm not real happy with that blend. Maybe I can do something else with it. But of course, because of the podcasting, I did this with the podcast years ago, and I put it aside. And this is one of these things I'm pulling out of the fiber closet saying, okay, I need to deal with this fiber and get it spun. This is what it looked like from the waist. Okay, there's just was, and what I had picked together in order, this is what actually I had picked together to do the drum carding with. So you can see how short and how much short stuff there is in there. This is not waist, I'm sorry. This is what I was drum carding. So the fiber had the problem of being very short to begin with. So that didn't work, and I put it away. Now, tunas popped up on the 52 weeks of sheep last year, and so I said, oh, I have tunas. I'll get that out. I need to work on that anyway, and let's see what I can do. And I decided I would drum card bats, and I did. And they were a little better. Okay, they were a little better. I would probably drum card this again, but I went ahead and spun this. As you can see, there's just all sorts of vegetable matter in there. I went ahead and spun some of this for my breed study, and talked about it. I don't know if I talked about it on a podcast or not, but I did. And it is super cushiony and, not bad, but I thought, oh, because I was doing a breed study, let's see what happens if you comb it with my hand combs, because that's what I was doing with the breed study. So I did. Where's that? That bag is all the bats. Well, I pulled off enough combed from these little combs. I pulled off enough to get a pretty reasonable piece of top, except look how much is still in there that's short. You can see that there's lots of little bits. Now, some of that, this will not spin away, but some gets smushed into the twist and you don't see a bump, but some you do. And that's fine. I wouldn't mind doing it, except that I have a huge amount to do, so I need to do it on my big combs. Well, I was having trouble getting this top to pull off of my little combs, which has two tines. If I put, let's see here, and this is the blended, so ignore the blended. But if I put this on my big 5-tine, it's going to disappear. It won't even reach out to the front from the 5 tines, and I will just comb everything away and not have any top to pull. All right, so it is a very poor candidate for large combs. Well, that was like where I stopped. I did my breed study. I did a sample of this combed top that I did with my, after, working with it a little bit and getting enough to do a sample yarn. And I did some spinning from the bat, and I made my woolen and worsted samples. And then I just put it away again. In fact, what I did is put it by my drum carder, because I thought, all right, in the worst case, I will re-drum card the bats, try to lighten them up a little bit. I have them pretty thick. Try to lighten them up a little bit and see how that works. But as I was, here's what I was going to show you. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff that would go in the drum carder, and it's just totally uncombable. So when I was thinking about what to do today, I got the idea that I hadn't shown the blending hackle. And I have one last try to see if this would blend the tunis and the alpaca. Okay, because I liked the way the color combination looked. I liked what I thought would be the resulting yarn. And so that's where we're at right now. I have run a sample. I have tried it. We'll talk about that as we go forward. And what I haven't decided is, I think I am going to use the fiber that looks like it's already got some of the alpaca in it, or like this, that's been drum carded. I think this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to add a little bit more alpaca. All right, the first one, I put the tunis on the bottom and the alpaca on the top. This time around, I'm going to put the alpaca on the bottom and the tunis on the top. This is my gorgeous alpaca. Oh, soft. Got a little tangle there. So let's just, this is loaded like any combs. And one of the problems, let me brace this, one of the problems with the blend, unfortunately, is that the alpaca is quite a bit longer than the tunis. I thought maybe that might be an okay thing if the alpaca kind of catches the tunis and blends it in there, right? I was using that longer length as a little bit of an advantage that for the shortness of the tunis. So let's put the tunis on here. I would not try this blending hackle with anything that hasn't been drum carded at least once. So you have many options when you are using a blending hackle. You can buy already processed fiber. You can dye that fiber and then do your blending by putting the fiber on here and pulling it off. You can buy dyed fiber and use a white and the dyed fiber to make a multiple blend. But it really is not a processing from straight washing and it's in locks and maybe you've picked it open. It's not really a good idea to do that. You get better results if you have it processed at least some. And that's why I am using the carded bat. Now, the alpaca is the exception. The alpaca is just washed. And the reason is because, as you could see, it's very willing and open, and it's not clumped. So the main thing you want to is that somehow that fiber has been opened up some in order to have it, the comb go through it and everything. Now, the one thing I didn't try is whether I need to comb it or not. I think I do, and I'm going to show you how I do that, but the next step, the next trial thing I'm going to do is to see if I actually have to comb it. Okay, but to show you how to comb it, you take your one small comb and you just do this through it. And I am being very gentle. I don't really want to pull a whole lot out. I can tell you right now, this decision to put the alpaca on the bottom and the tunis on the top was a very good decision. Now, it's hard to decide whether to use what you've combed out, whether it's waste or not. And sometimes I just go ahead and put it on there, pull out what's obvious. See, there's just pull out the little obvious and not comb it. Just leave it on top like that. I do have, nope, not for this. That's for something else. Never mind. Ignore that comment. Okay, so now you're ready to pull it just like top. See? And actually, by putting the alpaca on the bottom, it is doing what I said. I'm not getting as much of the tunis, but you go back in there, back towards the tines, and grab it and make it come out. And this, as I said, is not really going to be nice top. You are going to get the little short stuff in there. But you can pick out as your, whatever. So I am reasonably happy with that I might continue doing it that way. I have a ton of tunas, and it would take a long time. This one here is the one that I made where I had the tunis on the bottom, and as you can see, the blend isn't quite as good. I've got more areas where things are in there like this. So that was a learning experience. What do I do with this? Unlike, I think I am going to save it for felting. I really don't want to throw this much of it away. So I think after pulling out all of the vegetable matter, I'm going to start a bag where I'll save it for felting. And let me get my bag down here. All right. So what did I learn? Well, a longer fiber and a shorter fiber do work as long as you put the longer fiber on the bottom. And the combing is so far, the combing is needed. Let me try the other way. So let's get some alpaca again. This alpaca, I lied. This alpaca is in a bat. Sorry about that. This isn't a bat. It's a very disorganized bat because I've been ripping off of it for quite a while. But it is in a bat. So put it in a bat. Put it drum carded or something. Or buy already processed. And for those who stopped listening after I said you don't need to drum card the alpaca, my apologies. You'll probably figure it out. We can try it. I have Is this from a bat? I have some that has just been picked open. We can try that too. have way more tunis than I have alpaca. So and if you've noticed, I have no music going. That's because I am recording this with the podcast software. All right. Will this pull without? It will, but I'm not. I can see right now I'm not going to like it. The tunis needs the combing, so I am just going to go ahead and do that. One, very gentle. And I undid some of my alpaca doing that. Pull. There we go. And I'm going to put this back on top after I pull out some of the stuff I don't like. Okay, you could do that all day. It's never ending. But let's just do this. And see that little, I don't know if you can see the little short stuff, but I just get it. If I see it, I'll get it. Alright, now I'll just start pulling again. Okay. There is stuff loose on the bottom because I didn't catch it with the comb. I didn't go all the way through, so. I really wish I had pulled out some commercial prep fiber to show you this, and maybe I'll do that in another Teaching Tuesday, but because the reason is, there's just a world of difference when you are working with processed fiber that is just beautiful and doesn't have this shortcut stuff in there. You get a gorgeous blend, you get a gorgeous combination of colors or whatever, and it's pretty unending what all you can do. On the other hand, I don't waste my processed fiber by reprocessing it very often. I did make logs this last year with a commercial dyed processed fiber, but it's not common for me to do that. Everything I work with is from the animal, and I'm doing the work to try to make it better. One of the things after you load the comb, well, let me get it loaded here and then I'll show you what I'm going to say. I believe what I probably will do is finish up what I have, which is this bag right here of the bats that I tried carding this way and spin it this way. That'll make a fair amount of yarn. It'll take a while. Okay, one of the things you want to do is push up off the bottom, right? Just like a hand comb. Like a hand comb. And sort of check if you've got loose stuff or, stuff you don't want in there. And then we've already determined that combing through it one time is a good idea. I did try, when I was messing around with this a little bit earlier, going ahead and pulling top off of this. It's just not happening. It does, but that little bit of fiber to try and spin it isn't worth it. So that's why I have been doing what I was doing, which is opening it back up and putting it back on, sort of evening up the... I wonder what that's called. What is this called? That's on the comb. Is that called... That's not called doff. What is that called? I don't know. And then pulling. I just felt something. I don't know. Okay, my blend is disintegrating into a lot of alpaca and not much tunis, so I need to check that out. I felt a vegetable, a little thing, and that's it right there. So I am going to, and mostly that's because I already had alpaca on there, so I'm going to put less alpaca on the bottom. Now that's just terrible top. I mean, so I'm going to try and even it up, straighten it out, clean it up. That one just wasn't very nice, really. So much work. I don't know. This is where I get discouraged. And I am going to put that in the felting bag. That is going to be a huge project because I have been collecting, I got fuzz up my nose. I have been collecting the waste from combs for 2 years now in all sorts of colors, and I want to do some kind of free form wet felting where it's flat and you rub it and felt it all together. Some kind of free form design for a wall hanging, and I'm real excited about it, but there's a number of things. I need to get to the point where I can stand a lot. I need to be able to work outside, and all of that. So it just needs the right time and circumstances. Meanwhile, I'm collecting all these different fibers that I can use for it. Okay, so back to, don't put as much alpaca on the bottom. Also, my alpaca has various and sundry good and bad parts, right? It isn't all shortcut free. Or there's grass in there. Okay, that's enough of that. You know what? There is, I didn't dump this bag out. There is actually comb top in there. I have no memory of doing that. But it's not too bad. I will keep that. And there, I think there's a lot of that on the bottom. I may hit the bottom of that bag before I expect, which is good. But I need to start putting some of this in another bag somehow. You know, I count my noise. I make a noise. I count my fiber progress by my bags that I fill and then empty. It's just an ongoing thing. I use the same bags. Let's see if that's better. I got stuff hanging off the end down here. Might not have put enough on to pull off anything. You notice I'm just being very careful about how much I comb. And the reason is, the more I comb, the more I pull off. The tines here is just going to let everything go through. That's the reason there's so much of this short stuff, because there's nothing thick about these tines to stop it. I may put that alpaca back on, but I'm not going to put the... I don't know, might be too short. Hello, Kara, how are you? Yes. Morning, Veggie. How are you? Um, Kara, I know merino is something I won't home process. And I've never had the opportunity really to buy a merino fleece around where I live at the local, fiber fairs. They just aren't raising merino, and I'm not going to pay to ship it from overseas. So, yeah, I've avoided processing merino because of that reason. So the bottom line is, after I worked through this before I started streaming and everything. Oh, I forgot I had that on there. The bottom line was, I decided that I'm not going to do that entire tunis this way. And the process of trying to blend the tunis and the alpaca was pretty and a good idea, but I need to find a better wool and then blend it with the alpaca, if you understand what I'm saying. The tunis just wasn't the right choice of fiber. So I'm going to, as I said, probably go ahead and finish this that's in this bag that has already been blended, right? And get as much of the good top that I can off of it that's blended, and spin that as a spin project. And then these bats that are so thick and hard to draft, I'm going to split in half and just drum card a bat with that. And one of the reasons I'm having this happen where it's so bulky and everything is because the tunis fiber is short, and the teeth on my drum carder it's a fine tooth drum carder. because I bought it for alpaca or for Angora. And if I had a broader space teeth, maybe a little longer than what I have, if I had a drum carder that was that way with that kind of carding cloth on it, I think the Tunis would like it. And I could open it up more. So to work with what I've got, I'm going to split this in half, re-drum card it, and just spin it. Whatever yarn it makes, right? But I am going to run it through the drum carder one more time. So that is the final verdict on what to do with this Tunis, and I'm going to work on this for probably another 30 minutes or so, and I'm more than willing to chat while I do, because it's just going to be me doing the same thing here until hopefully I empty this bag. And if I have any time left over, I have one more blend that I want to go ahead and do. Now the Tunis just went away on this. On this one here. It just went away. Alright, let's pull. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. Oh, that don't look good at all. It just so much short stuff. One of the things I have found as I've been going through this process of finishing up things that I started years over the years in order to podcast, right? And this was one of those projects. One of the things I have discovered is that I've gotten less picky about the processing and spinning of it. It is like I'll find a use for that yarn somewhere. And I'm not going to angst over getting the perfect yarn anymore. Let's just get the fleece out of here, and eventually when I get it pretty much cleaned up, then I will be able to be a little more picky and choosy about what I buy and if I'm going to process it or not. I am so in fiber fair withdrawal. I mean, it's usually the very first one I go to. There's one earlier in March that I have gone to, but the most common one I go to is the first weekend in April. And there is a timer in my head going, oh, you gotta go, you gotta go, you know? And I have no idea, actually, if it's going to be open or not, but I can't go because I'll be recuperating from surgery, so I will not be traveling at that point. I guess I better put some of this away. I'm trying to put more of this Targi on. I said Targi. I'd like it. I've never home processed Targi. Bought a lot of it in yarn and fiber, but I've never home processed it. Tunis is the name of the breed, and I will put these in here. Kara has a mountain Icelandic, and she also has a very lucky cat who gets to sleep on felted Icelandic. Your mountain of Icelandic has taught me that I have all sorts of different types of yarn, lumpy or smooth, thick or thin. I just spin the best I can from whatever way I manage to prep it. I'll figure out later how to use it. Amen, amen, amen. And I say amen. Wool has use for anything you can imagine. And the only thing that I have learned and regretted is I didn't develop this into a business where I would sell what I spin or anything like that because of that attitude. It is all for me, and therefore I have a mountain of handspun yarn that I have to figure out what to do with. But I'm in the process of doing that too, like the Black Welsh Mountain Project I've talked about. All of these things are going to take so much time, but the point is I am working towards that goal. You're saying the same thing though, Veggie. We're just spinning for the spinning too. Really. We really are. Yeah. And that's where I always want to be, except that I'm too much a teacher. I just am naturally curious, and once I figure something out or have something happen, then I want to tell people about it. And, so I'm just a teacher. In many ways, I am much happier with that than I was with the top that I had done with my little hand combs for the breed study. So I consider this a win, actually. And that's a good thing, really, because I didn't think I was going to be able to get something out of this tunis that was unique and different, other than, as we've been saying, a lumpy, bumpy yarn. I'm actually pulling the alpaca off of the previous carding in order to get more of the tunis. This tunis has incredibly fine crimp, and it's soft. It is actually next to the skin soft. So the whole, it's a nice spinning, a nice yarn. It's going to be a nice yarn. Kara says she's all self-taught. Trial and error. Nice to see someone else struggling, figuring out how to prep something. Yeah. Oh, and this alpaca is just like everywhere. It is. It's just like everywhere. It's sticking to me and everything. It's staticky. I need it off my lap and out of the way here. So, I was saying earlier I haven't bought a fiber tool or anything for a long time. And of course, everybody's talking about what they're buying with their stimulus. And I've been trying to think, what do I want? And there's two things I'm kind of coming up with. One is, as I was just saying, a smaller drum carder that I could store most of the time, but has very wide teeth. That is one possibility. The second thing is a Russian paddle comb. And the only reason I want to do that is because I'm so intrigued by them. I think they're so cool, but I'm not so sure, since I've never used it, I would think it's cool once I had it. So it's kind of like maybe I shouldn't do that. on that list, right? Kara, you got any dream fiber tools you're thinking about? Or veggie? Veggie, I think you're not really into the processing just yet, are you? I thought about a picker too, but I'm at the end of my uh, I'm wash and fleece life. I'm not really thinking that I'm going to be doing that. I would only buy a picker if I thought I was going to be selling fiber processed, and I don't see that happening. And I would only buy a picker. I would only be selling fiber if I was raising it, um, if I had sheep, in other words. And I really don't think it's necessary for. Boy, I put too much alpaca on there. What was I thinking? Um, yeah, it's not necessary for home processing of wool. I can sit and pick it with my hands. So you want a drum carder. Yeah. They are expensive. And if I was going for the business end of it, I would do the super carder, which is electric, but just home processing, that's a bit pricey. Veggie says she's done some processing with unknown wool my mother-in-law gave me when I started spinning, and some dog fur. Yeah. It really is like I have to go down into the right next to the comb and grab that tunas. It just doesn't want to come off. It's like just really doesn't want to come off. And see, I didn't get a real good blend on that one. It's almost all alpaca. Kind of got things disorganized because I pulled some of that alpaca off, I think. You're saving the lamb Icelandics for a drum carder. It's very fine, soft, and short. Oh, that sounds nice, doesn't it? You'd love. Veggie says she'd love some new tools, but most of my fiber is already processed. A blending board or drum carder would be nice for blending colors together. Yes, a blending board. I highly recommend it. I'm hubby and I made mine. Okay, so you can buy the drum carding cloth, and you need a good solid piece of wood that's just maybe an inch all the way around, right, bigger, and you finish that board and you tack the carding cloth on it, and you got it. Now the carding cloth is not, I mean, it's not cheap, but that's your cost. And then you have to have that a hand card, right? You have to have a hand card in order to do the brushing down the blending board. Alright, I have non-drum carded in here that I am not going to try and put on the blending hackle. So I should have sorted this ahead of time, but I didn't. So I am not going to put any of that in there. And I believe I'm going to hit the end of what I have to do here pretty quick. At some point in time, I did sit and do a bunch of top, and it's been stored and it's pretty smushed, but I'm still going to go ahead and spin it. All right. I'm keeping those. Yeah, this is like an endless bag of comb waste. That's what that is. That's what this is. What you chatting about here? Nothing. There's a bat. Okay, good. I'll do that one. So I won't get this particular project completed today because this stuff that's on my lap has both alpaca and tunis on it. I want to run a drum carder bat on that, then use it on here like I've been doing with this kind of drum carder bat. And that's, so I'm not going to get the bag empty, but I'm closer. These are, okay, so I have my tops in that paper bag. These need drum carding. But I'm not adding any alpaca to that drum carding bat. When I do that drum carding, I'm not going to add any alpaca to it. This is a little bit of top that has no alpaca in it. I can use that. Okay. Last bat here. And then we'll go on and play with something else. The pile of method of organization. Yes, indeed. And I have to leave notes. I have to put a note in there because inevitably when I pick up a bag, that's the first thing I do is look for, you know, all right, what did I tell myself I was going to do with this? I won't remember if I don't do that. Yes, indeed. The top that you get off of this is a lot loosely connected as opposed to what you pull off of a hand or a big clamp comb. And yeah, you see how much I'm wasting or using up there, putting in the felding bag. I'm just like over this fiber, and it needs to be forward in the process here. Yeah, the mini combs. Okay, there's a pro and con. It depends how um, urgent you need the top, because the mini combs are slow and it still hurts your hands, right? You can't do it as much as you think. And I consider my mini combs mostly for sampling. And then if I like the way the fiber actually combs, then I look to see if it is long enough to go on my big combs. I'll comb it that way. Um, so yeah, you know, for their cost, it's, and of course you only have to buy once, so buy smartly. But it is nice that you only have to buy once. So the cost is a one-time cost. And ironically, there is a dual purpose for a comb, and there is a dual purpose for one hand card, and that is the blending. The blending hackle needs the comb, and the blending board needs the carder, hand carder. It's kind of interesting symmetry. See, no matter how little alpaca I put and how much tunis I put, I don't get much tunis off that. I just don't. It's just too short. Really is a drum carder. It really needs drum carded. I have this much of the alpaca left as a bats, and I can spin those as a bat. They're messy bats, and I may redo them, but I can put that I'm making with 100% alpaca as a second ply for the yarn. That would be good. They're messy because they've been handled so much. But it's the bat from my drum carder. That was a full bat. I've been using a partial bat that I had in there. So I'm out of that now. I'm just gonna need a little bit. I think I'll have 2 or 3 more of these to do. Kara says, I actually comb with one comb and a hackle. The combs are too heavy to be swinging both around. Oh, okay. Yeah. Combing back in the medieval time when wool was the main source of fiber, combing was a man's job. And they put one great big comb on the wall, and the other one he just literally swung like this. It was a man's job. And an apprenticed job. I mean, it was a craft. It was considered a very important part of their life. Well, that just looked pretty crappy. I'm kidding. Oh, I'm getting over this fiber. Had enough. Taking a perfectly acceptable alpaca bat and turning it into something that's so-so. That one's pretty nice. Alright, one more. I decimated this bat. Too much here. Take it off the bottom. I had a note in this alpaca with the bats to do it with the large combs on a stream. Now, I have done the large combs on a stream. I don't remember if I actually did the alpaca or not, though. I don't remember. I may do it again. I can attach them to this. I just have to be really careful. Alright, excuse me rattling while I check and see what I got here. Yep, these are all bats, nothing loose. Oh, there's lots and lots of short in that. Not really nice at all. Okay. Oh well. So, I now have a good start on something to spin. I have two things I have to drum card. I have fiber for the felting. And I have fiber all over the floor. There we go. Now the next one that I am going to work with is not drum carded processed. And I've already stated that I think it's pretty important that you work with that. But I'm going to show you unprocessed fiber just for the experience of seeing it. What I have here is again alpaca, because I have a ton of alpaca and everything I bought that was alpaca was a blanket, right? And hi, Tuna Basil, welcome. So this is alpaca and it's washed. And it's mostly white. It has a little bit of red to it, and it has a lot of different staple lengths, but for the most part, that's about it right there. About 4 inches. And I have Angora and wool blend that was, I dyed the Angora and I blended it with a gray color wool, and you can't really see the gray on there. Really all you see is the blue, but it has both. Okay, and I originally did this blend on the blending board and it works wonderful. And really the rest of this that I have I am going to do on the blending board. When I did it on the blending board, just so that we can see the difference, it had Firestar with it, okay? When I did it on the blending board, this is what I got. And you know, you just start on the end here and you spin them, and I love spinning these kind of things. So this is really a perfect candidate for the blending board. And actually, I think I put this color Firestar in it. I have a silver and I have a multi greenish. Doesn't really matter because I don't know if I'll be putting I'm going to put the silver in with this. So anyway, this is what the real project is to be, but I thought I would just pull a little bit of this fiber and show you what it's like if you try to do it without pre-drum carding or processing your fiber, just have it washed. And the answer is it does work. Okay, it does work. And I have 3 here to show you. Thank you. I don't use it very often. I don't use a blending hackle. I had to go dig it out, right? I had to go dig it out. But when I pulled this off, what is happening is the Angora has all of this really short stuff. And I'm getting this kind of thing. And I'm leaving it that way because that's going to spin up as a little interesting texture, but it's not really ideal to do this on a blending hackle. The blending board is much more better. Much more better. So I have my alpaca and I'm just going to load it like you do your combs. And doing this uncarded, prepped means there's going to be a lot of waste. A lot of waste. And in this particular case, the alpaca is not long as that red I was just using. It's not that long. The alpaca and the Angora are about the same staple length. So the one holding the other one in place isn't going to work. Excuse me. I am inhaling fiber. And what I'm doing is just sort of picking it apart, right? I'm not trying to get locks on there. I'm just picking it apart, and the alpaca picks apart real easy. And then I have a little bit of this. I don't have much of this blue left. I have a ton of the alpaca. But that's all right. I can use the alpaca as it is. I can drum card it. This is a little short to do. The alpaca is a little short to do on my big combs. I can do very long alpaca Surrey on my big combs, but this is a little short to be doing that. So drum carding works better. Now, right away, everything comes off, right? So the first pass through, all I did was get off anything that wasn't combed to begin with. So I'm going to take that and re-fluff it. So there's no locks, and I'm going to get the little bit that is really shorts, and I'm going to reload. Don't like that. Most of it's going on this one side because the other side seems to be more intact. And I said I was going to put Firestar in there, so we'll do that. The alpaca does not want to leave my fingers. It is staticky. It is like stuck on me. I'll fix you. I'll put you there. Sparkle. Best part of the blending is the sparkle. I don't usually comb sparkle, with the comb. I put it on top there and then start pulling. And already I got loose stuff right there. Okay, here we go. There is no resistance at all to pulling this. It's just coming off like crazy. It's going to be more of almost like a bat instead of a consistent top. See how thick that is and everything, but it's spinnable. It is definitely spinnable. It's a little hard to store. It's so shiny. It's a little hard to store. I kind of lay some on top of the other, pull just a tug a little bit, just a tug to, and then wrap it. And there's a lot left over here. I do not know if this will give me anything or not. I am going to try it by, again, pulling everything apart. The Angora was not opened up really enough by the combing. So we're going to just pick it really good here and blend it in together. And I'm going to put this back on and see if I can pull any. I don't think I'm going to be able to, but see, that's too short. I may go ahead and put some more alpaca on here. You can see right here, you can see what the Angora wants to do. It's little, Angora gets what do you call it when your hair tangles? You know, it gets tangles, and that's what's catching on there. Let me put a little more alpaca on it. It is so soft. See if I can kind of bind this together. I give up. Where did I put my fire star? Huh. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. I found it. I probably should have combed this, actually. Because that's just nothing but locks. See them? Right there. I don't know. I'm just messing now, you guys. It's just, I'm playing. Mostly because, okay, since it wasn't processed, it's not a one-step process. You know, it's not a one-step thing to get something pulled off. Everything is sticking to me. Oh my gosh. Everything's sticking to me. Alright. So I combed it once. I'm going to put what I combed on, except for what's too loose. Now let's try pulling. See if I can get less of the locks. It's still very short staple, very short pull because of the short alpaca locks. That's better. It's still, but it's more blended and it's better. It's still not real intact as a top, but looks better. So I will spin those sometime when I'm messing with it. It is a nice blend. I love blending alpaca with anything, really. Truly, it's one of those things that's really great to blend. I am not going to do any more of that though, because that was just a demo of to prove that really it's so much better to have processed fiber before you go to your blending hackle. That's all that was to show you. I really like this from the blending board. I love my blending board. It's I love spinning them and I like making them. So I didn't get quite the, oh, what am I trying to say? Quite the sparkle in that, but that's because I used a darker fire star instead of the silver. Probably I should get the blending board out and work on that on a stream on Tuesdays. That would be a good idea. I am going to stop, and I'm not going to say goodbye just yet, but I am overwhelmed with fiber here. on me and on in my throat and all that. It looks like it looks a little like the fiber on the table. Um, the alpaca. Karen, up above you there, has been doing lots of processing of alpaca. Of Icelandic. She may have some tips for you. So it's pretty short, is what you mean when you say it's like that? Whew. I buy these at the dollar store. Now, they're not a dollar. Dollar stores have things that cost more than that, but boy, I use these a lot. These rollers. Between my cat and all my fiber processing. Makes a very pretty yarn. Icelandic does. It's nice. Alright, I'm going to make a few notes here. Put in my bag so I don't forget what's what. I have to do that. I really do. Get a drink first. We have a gorgeous sunny day today. I'm so happy with spring. Look at my Be Right Back screen I just made. Violets. I love violets. They're my most favorite flowers ever. Not true. I have lots of favorite flowers. I like violets. Happy spring. I took that picture. Our field is blue, purple in some places. Not right now. It's too early, but I took that picture last year, year before. But they'll be there. They'll be there. All right, what do I got here? This needs carded. Oh, I found more sticking to me. There, check. You ever found it under your arms? Processing fiber? Like in your armpits? Yep. There it was. It was in my armpits. It's everywhere. And I have a second bag that needs carded. Well, at least two of my bags say spin, and two say card. And, oh yeah, I need to mark that bag as felting. So I may or may not be playing hooky on Thursday, and I'm going to cut this short by about half an hour or so. As you've been listening to me, as you all know, I'm working on the Sock Madness sock, and I got up to the heel turn on the second one yesterday, and I know the foot takes a while, so I have to have it done technically 4 a.m. Saturday morning, so I'm giving myself a Friday deadline so that I can get the picture taken and the email in and all that. I don't actually want to finish too early. I don't want them to put me on a team. If I qualify, I don't want to be on a team that fast knitters, right? I'm a slow knitter. And so I want on a slow knitting team. Anyway, I probably won't go much further, but uh, let's see. Oh, blending board. Last, I'm thinking and I'm talking, and I shouldn't do that. So, I may play hooky on Thursday, just because I have to have that sock done by Friday. It just depends how much knitting time I get. And right now, I have the bulk of later afternoon, all evening, all day Wednesday. I could have all day Thursday and then stream. And when I knit that much, it's kind of nice to spin. And if I come on Thursday, it's not going to be a throwback Thursday. I'll be spinning just to rest my hands. And Sunday will be spinning. So thank you for hanging out with me, everybody. It's been great talking to you. Tuna Basil, welcome. I hope to see you again. Veggie, good to see you. And Carolyn, ever faithful. I appreciate you being there all the time. Thank you. I will see you whenever. Until later, happy spinning. Bye.